Hi, this is Kyle Bondo.
And this is Timothy Kimo Brien.
And you're listening to Podwrecked, the podcast that helps you survive your podcast. And today, just so happens to be International Podcast Day, we're going to talk about recording away from the world. Hi, and welcome to Podwrecked. That's right, International Podcast Day. That's where podcasts all over the world exchange ideas and get together and talk to one another about what they're doing in their part of the world, what podcasts they want to share, what kind of interesting things they're saying, because, hey, podcasting is international. It's in all sorts of different languages, all sorts of different kinds of people, every walk of life. It is probably the most diverse group of people you ever meet. In fact, at PodFest, I once met, a weightlifter, an artist, a lawyer, and a cowboy all standing in the hallway having a conversation. That's podcasting. To me, that is podcasting. It's the most diverse thing you possibly get. There's every walk of life, and we all have ideas. We all like to talk about it. It's quite a very cool community. Well, today we're going to talk to you about something that Tim and I have thought about a lot, especially since we do a lot of ad hoc recording. And that, of course, if you don't know what ad hoc is, that means recording on the fly. Where can you go do recordings when you don't have a studio, when you don't have the production value of a giant room built by contractors for thousands of dollars, when you don't have all the acoustic accoutrements to make yourself sound perfect? Well, we have a couple ideas, and these are really easy to do and really, I think, probably low budget, but very effective. And the first one I want to get to you is called the Science Board. Now, I have kids, and my kids who once upon a time had to do science projects, they sell these giant pieces of cardboard. I guess they're 3 feet tall by 3 or 4 feet wide, and they have little arms that fold in, like the first foot on each side of the piece of card fold in, kind of making this like a C shape. Now, they would put their posters and their PowerPoint slides and all their science measurements they had done for their projects up on these boards. And you can get them at just about any drugstore, Walmart, any craft store. They sell them. They're cardboard. Or you could get yourself a cardboard box and just chop it up into the shape you need. Then I went on Amazon and I ordered acoustic panels. These are these 12-inch by 12-inch frilly things. They got ridges on them. They're black or gray styrofoam. I guess they come in red and a couple different colors. And I got a box of them. I think, there's 12? I think there's 12 here. Yep, there's 12. I'm looking at it right now because I'm using it right now because Kyle's moving to Texas. So I have everything packed in a box. So I can't record in a room that echoes. So this is my acoustic paneling. Now, I bought this for $20, maybe. I don't even think it was that much. And they all came packed together. What I do next, I grab some Elmer's glue. I think you can get glue, wood glue or anything else would work. And I glued these 90 degrees from each other. So one was one direction, one was the other direction. One was one direction, one was the other direction. And I just covered the board with these little foam panels. And what do I have? I have a portable sound studio. It's really simple. I can put it in the closet. I can put it in the garage. When I need it, I pull it out. I slap it here in front of my computer, in front of my microphone, and it absorbs the sound. It stops me from the sound bouncing back into the microphone. It is a giant shock absorber for audio. And it's super easy, super cheap, barely an inconvenience. $30 maybe of materials? And it lasts forever. I've had this thing for over 2 years, and it is quite effective. It is probably the cheapest sound equipment sound accessory. What do we call it? Accessory, Tim? I think accessory that I've ever created. So this is a super cheap way to build yourself a little studio. But before we started recording, Tim told me of another way. In fact, we've got a couple different ways we're going to talk about today. He told me about another way, which I think is probably something I'd never heard of before. So Tim, tell me about the weird thing that you came up with for an ad hoc recording studio.
Yeah, Kyle, and it's so great I get to see you, and your walls are so bare. I am, folks. I got to admit, I'm in mourning because I'm losing Kyle to Texas, But that's okay, because Kyle's going to do wonderful out there in good old Texas, deep in the heart of, as I like to say. But what I wanted to talk about is one of my favorite podcasts is Akimbo by Seth Godin. Seth, that'll be $100. And I was listening to his episode on the 29th of September, and he was talking about he's a marketer, and he's talking about ways that podcasting is a wonderful medium to utilize, and the sophistication of podcasting. We're used to the NPR voices. A lot of podcasters are influenced by NPR because we're Gen Xers, and that's what we listen to on the way home from school is listen to NPR, and that sophistication can be achieved easily by doing these ad hoc recording studios. Now, that wasn't the main focus of that episode, but something that he said really caught me off guard. He said that he was recording in a padded shower. A padded shower. So I went up to my shower, and I can't really do it in my shower because of how it's set up. But I looked at my kid's shower, which has, the bathtub and the shower and all that kind of good stuff. And I was like, how am I going to pad this shower? So I took some heavy blankets and put it over the shower curtain on one side. And then I attached it to the top, so it's above me. And I took my my Zoom H5, that'll be $100 Zoom, and I did a little bit of recording, and it kind of works. But when you listen to Akimbo, and I'm going to recommend it, it's a fantastic podcast, and I'm going to recommend that to you to listen to. When you listen to it, you wouldn't know this. Now, I think his setup is a little bit different than what I'm describing, and I'd love to know his microphone and all that kind of good stuff. But I tried it out, and it kind of works in a pinch. You could do that in a pinch. You can't do it like in a hotel room because you're probably not going to have heavy enough blankets. Maybe you can. Maybe here's an idea, Kyle, and this is perfect for International Podcast Day. Maybe if we make it up to Swedensboro in next year in September and do the Icon, the Independent Podcasters Festival with Super Joe Pardo, we can test this theory out.
True. And
we could win a prize. And that prize would be a brand new PR40 for you. And I already have my RE320, but I can get everybody there to sign my RE320. That's I'm putting it out there for Super Joe Pardo. Joe, I know you listen to the show. There you go. There's an idea for you.
That is an idea, but I can see the hotel room with the blankets. If you don't have blankets, another ad hoc idea is the pillow fort. This is something I've done at a couple different conferences with when you have your Zoom recorder. Is they give you, if you're there by yourself, a lot of times you get a room. Sometimes it's got twin beds. Sometimes you got the queen or the king, if you've got fancy hotel money. But if you don't, a lot of times they'll give you a room with 2 beds. Well, 2 beds has 4 pillows at least, and you can ask the hotel management for extra pillows, and they'll bring you up. Geez, sometimes they'll bring you up 6 to 8 different pillows if you really need a lot of pillows. But the idea is to build yourself an audio cave. And this is something that I've talked to David Hooper a lot about at Big Podcast and the Red Podcast. He was out in his yard building acoustic panels. And acoustic panels are like 2x4s with material over them. And sometimes you can get artwork and things like that to put over it. But you put acoustic absorbing, I guess you could call it construction insulation inside them. And they hang on the wall. And they're just designed to absorb sound. The whole idea is to break the sound up from bouncing around. You don't know how loud your room is until you move everything out of it. And here in my empty house right now, because everyone's packed up for the move, everything is bouncing around. Every room sounds like a cathedral. And in a hotel room, a lot of times, there's not a lot of things in a hotel room. It bounces, it echoes like crazy too. So the idea is then to get as many pillows and blankets as possible and just build this giant mound on one of the beds. And then give yourself a little space where you can either kneel next to the bed or sit a chair next to the bed, and give yourself a little cave and put your microphone inside the little cave and record from there. You'd be surprised how well that will hold sound. And I've even done this on a desk. Sometimes hotel rooms give you a desk. You can pile them all up around the desk. Like you sit your laptop on the desk and you pile all the pillows around the computer. It might get a little warm. And you slide your microphone in there. It's like a little tripod, or if you can, however you want to mount your microphone, but you really don't need anything sophisticated. In fact, another pillow could hold the microphone if you wanted to, and turn on your Zoom recorder and record that way. It does amazing, because the objective is not to sound like you're recording in a bathroom where everything's echoing, or in a cathedral, or, in an auditorium. You don't want to record like that. You want the sound to sound intimate and close and crisp without the echo. And I hope it's not echoing as a lot in this room. It might be, but we'll see. Tim says it sounds pretty good. That's the objective. Just like in the padded shower, the whole point is okay, bathroom sounds like a horrible place to record. But if you've got heavy blankets, it just absorbs everything. And because it's a confined space, that shower rod becomes a construction equipment, in a sense, that holds up the blankets so you can breathe in there. Because putting a blanket over your head inside, your bedroom, try that. It's tough. Have a blanket sitting on your head and try to be creative while you're also hot and kind of uncomfortable and everything's going to weigh on you. You kind of need some space. You need some space for your audio to kind of breathe a little bit, but not to bounce back at you. That's the objective. So try a pillow fort. Try the hotel pillow fort anytime next time you're traveling, traveling internationally, and you need to record. Try that. In fact, I'm starting to get rid of my mixer. I'm starting to get rid of a lot of my equipment and going completely remote. Or now I have an H6, a couple H4s. Those are becoming my go-to recording equipment thing, where I'm not even using the mixer or the studio device anymore. I would love to have the whole expensive studio, but I'm finding that the recording quality that comes on an H6 and an H4 Zoom, Zoom should just become a sponsor, I swear, because I love Zoom stuff. I have Zoom and just all sorts of Zoom. They do enough of a job to no one knows the difference. No one knows the difference, and that's the objective. But there's other ways. So say you don't have heavy blankets. Say you're not in a hotel room. Say you don't have you don't have a cardboard with you. What's one other place, Tim, that you could then record? If you're on the road and you need to record something, what could you do if on the fly to sound good? What's a one place you could like shove yourself to make it work? What do you think?
Well, Kyle, I think you sometimes want to shove me in a closet, but I'm bummed. Never. He never wants to shove me in a closet. But yeah, you could use a closet with a lot of clothes around you to absorb that sound. So that might be a cooler alternative, where you could put the blanket on the curtain, the closet rod there. Of course, I'm using my hands to describe something in a audio format, but that's okay. Kyle's used to this. So you could use that blanket to put it over the closet rod. And you go ahead and do your recording there. Or let's say you're at home and you're just starting out with podcasting and you're like, I want to sound as good as Kyle and Tim. You have a closet. You have a lot of clothes in your closet. If you're married to my wife, you have a lot of clothes hey, she has a lot of clothes in the closet and you have a little bit of clothes in the closet. So if you don't mind, standing between a couple of dresses, I don't mind. I went to college once. I experimented. It was great. But you go in the closet there, you bring your little handheld recorder there with you, and you set up your little maybe a chair or a stool or something like that, and you just record from that. What that allows you to do is it gives you, like Kyle was saying, you need a little bit of air to breathe, to let that sound go out a little bit, but you don't want it bouncing back at you. Well, if you have your clothes all around you, there you go. A lot of podcasters record out of their closet. Okay. A lot of the ones that you're listening to right now record out of their closet, and you think they sound fantastic. You think they sound almost as good as Chris Corinne over at Podcast Engineering School. Chris, that'll be $100. Anyhow, a lot of people are going to give us money this episode. I believe it. I feel it. But these are ways to help you, not spend $20,000 on a recording studio. Unless, Kyle wants to do that down in Texas. Kyle, do you want to spend $20,000 in a recording studio for Gagglebot?
Well, that is another idea. If you've got you've got some bucks in your pocket, another possibility is in the city you're visiting. A lot of times there are recording studios. There are places where you can go to do recordings to get your sound to sound natural and to sound quality audio is by renting some space in a recording studio. There's a lot of places that do music. There's a lot of places that have their own setups where you can rent some time, an hour in a recording space. There are libraries that have invested in recording equipment. Here in Fredericksburg, our own local library built a space, which is a soundproof box inside a room for recording audio. And when you walk inside that box, it's creepy because the sound is just sucked out of everything. It sounds so dense, or I guess the sound is just gone. You can't hear the air conditioning, can't hear people talking, can't hear cars outside. It's really an interesting effect. Another weird idea is music stores. A lot of music stores have rooms where people practice. Surprisingly, because of the audio absorption they use in those music rooms, not to disturb other people who are also practicing or shoppers looking for music or buying instruments, you can go in there and rent their space for many, 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 I guess you'd say, I wouldn't say hours, but a long time at a really cheap rate. And they might not be ideal, but once you set up your recording equipment in a room that has less absorption, you'd be surprised how well you sound. In fact, these microphones would just kick out a lot of the different sound where you don't have to worry about it. All you need is worry about a lot of the coming into the microphone sound and the bouncing off the walls. If you can solve those two problems, a lot of times 90% of the sound that you're getting will sound good and no one will notice. The only people that will notice if there is an issue will be other podcasters, because we listen with podcast ears. We're snobs or zealots. We're like, oh, I think I heard a lawnmower. I think I heard a dog barking. Yeah, so what? Most of your audience will never know, because in fact, most of your audience is listening in the car. They won't even notice because the car speakers are not that great. If they're listening with earbuds while they're doing something. They won't notice a dog barking. And frankly, most people don't care. Most people do not care unless it's a super serious show, and we only do serious audio because just like Daniel J. Lewis says all the time, is no one says, wow, did you hear that podcast? Its audio quality was so good. No, people care about content. If the content is good and the sound isn't distracting, it's not an obstruction, then people like it. So your sound just needs to sound good enough. It doesn't need to be perfect. And in fact, ad-hoc recording studios makes you sound good enough. So be good enough. Because content is what you need to be doing and getting your podcast out to the world so people can hear it, even your audience. That is the reason why these ideas are being presented. And so to wrap up our episode here on ad hoc recording studios, Tim, you get the last word. Tell us about, kind of sum it all up on what we learned here today and what I think people could do to really have good sound without breaking the bank.
Absolutely, Kyle. So I got a little story to tell. I've got a little story to tell here. Just a tiny one, I promise. So when we started Podwrecked, we were meeting in a college classroom. And we started recording, we were talking about podcasting stuff, and we were like, why aren't we recording this? So we started recording this. And it turned into the podcast that you're listening to right now. Ad hoc recording. Give it a shot for yourself. It will save your wallet, because I know people are out there and they're like, man, Tim's got that $300 microphone. Kyle's got that H6 that Tim is a little bit jealous of. A little bit, not too much, because I'll have to get an H8 just to outdo him. I'll have to. But I mean, you can spend all this money on your audio setup. You can do that. You go right ahead if you want to. But if your content is horrible, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to listen to it. Unless you're doing a show, and I tease with Chris Curran, but unless you're doing a show like that, most people are not going to notice it. When I listen to podcasts, what am I doing? I'm doing something else. I'm absorbing it. I'm paying attention to it. I'm multitasking, but I'm also listening to something else. So if I hear a dog barking in the background, I'm probably on my lawnmower, but I'll hear a dog bark on the podcast, but I'll think it's my neighbor's dog barking. So I'll disregard it. It doesn't matter. So don't let the audio setup stop you from doing your podcast. Don't let that stop you. You can do it on the cheap. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting the show. We've provided you 5 examples of how to do it on the cheap. If you're on the go, if you're in your basement, in your man cave, or your she shed, you can do this kind of stuff. It's not rocket science. And if you would like help with it, well, obviously, Podwrecked is here for you. Kyle and I are here for you. And we're here to help you survive your podcast. And how can you do that? Well, a couple of different ways. You can email us at podwrecked@gmail.com. You can go to our website, podwrecked.com. There's a Patreon button there. We love coffee, because it's also on the 29th of September. It's International Coffee Day. So we're obviously going to, drink up all of our extra storage. So go ahead and pound that Patreon button and hook us up with some coffee. You can be part of our Salvage Dawg crew to help you with your podcast. So think about these ideas, try them out, shoot us an email, let us know what your setup is. Let us know if you have an idea that we didn't mention, and let us know how it works for you, and we can put it onto our website. So definitely want to thank you for listening to this episode of Podwrecked, where we help you survive your podcast. We'll see you next time.
Where the pod shine bright and record
at night.
Deep in the heart of
Podwrecked.
We suck at this.
Podwrecked. Part of the Beer Tent Consulting podcast, where we help you sell more beer.
No horses were harmed in the making of this podcast. That's it, Tim. That's it.
Oh.
In the closet.
Oh, stop it. Oh, my goiter. My pus-filled goiter. Oh, it's ruptured. And that's the last time you'll hear from Tim on Podwrecked. Kyle has taken over. He's taken over.
Hey, no talking in there.
Come get me, Cliff. Please. Only you can save me, Cliff.
Get my stick.
Oh, my God. He's got the stick. He's got the stick. Not again. Should I put the lotion in the basket?
This is GagglePod.